For that perfect crypto gift this holiday, or even a read for yourself, if you're into a good Scroogey story surrounding Bitcoin this Christmas season, this one might be for you. The Scrooge of Bitcoin is a humorous send-up on the original Scrooge story, but involving a sinister banker who wants to destroy the cryptocurrency. The story is available on Amazon as a Kindle download. A link is available in the description below, so pour yourself an eggnog and enjoy this crypto Christmas tale. Yes, your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today I've got a returning guest, my man Douglas Horn, founder of Telos. He's got some major announcements. This week is actually Telos' birthday. They're celebrating, so very excited to have him on and share some exclusive news with us today. Doug, it's a pleasure having you back on, man. How are you?
Hey CV, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. I like that. I like that pick, Beastie Boys. That's what you said. You said some old school hip hop.
Can't go wrong. You got an old guy. You got to go old school.
So,
what's better for an old white guy than some beasties?
Right. How you been, man? How long has it been since you've been on?
It's been a while, so I've been good. Thank you. Busy. As I recall, we spoke just before the TED plan, the Telos Economic Development Plan, was set to sort of like spring into action, right? So we knew it was passed. We knew we had that election hack that we fixed and were able to deal with, and we knew that the 30% REX staking rewards were coming. Flash forward, and also the expansion of the Telos worker proposal system and things like that. All that's happened. It's been fantastic. REX, people are still getting about 20%. It's just that we've got 62 million Telos in REX, and it's just been a huge success. But it's no longer 30% because so many people are in it. But yeah, that's the last time we spoke, and a lot has happened since then.
Yeah, a lot has happened. I know you guys are now on Coin Market Cap. I know that's kind of superficial achievement, but it still is. That's a milestone that I think was necessary. Should have already been done. I mean, you guys got a lot of stuff in store here. We were talking before we started recording. We'll talk about the Telos Decide program you guys are working on, the Telos Works and all of that. So for those who don't know though, Doug, because many still aren't familiar with how EOSio works and what Telos is and how it even works within this whole ecosystem, tell us about, again, Telos. It's a sister chain. Just kind of give us a background on that.
Absolutely. So Telos is a third generation blockchain. Means it's super fast, super high capacity. As a demonstration of that, Telos and EOS are the number 1 and 2 blockchains on Blocktivity, which is independently measuring what blockchains are actually doing the most transactions, and we're way out in front of everybody else. So people know that it's something that really works well. It runs smart contracts. Under the hood, Telos and EOS are extremely similar because they both run on the EOSio software. But for people who have concerns about EOS, they should probably know that we made a really strong attempt to fix all those things that we thought were challenging and people had said were not what they had hoped for with EOS. Things like eliminating plutocracy, having really responsive block producers who are engaged and actively solving problems like we see coming up all the time. We have on-chain governance that's leads the blockchain world, certainly. You might be able to say something like a Telos is in the same ballpark as Telos, but nothing else is really close to what we're doing in terms of everything being on-chain, smart contract controlled, both these worker proposals under Telos Works and also the amendments of the governance itself that are voted on chain through our amendment system. We have arbitration that's not been a huge element yet, but it's there when people need it. And yeah, so it's a smart contract platform. We've rolled out, and we'll talk about this in just a second when we talk about Telos Decide, but we took all this great new governance we created and we rolled it out so every app on Telos can use that, and it's a huge solution for them. It's saving them months and some people even say a year of development. So that we're really working on making this something that is really strong for developers and really reaches out to the general public and gives them something useful to do on blockchain that doesn't have all the sort of the friction points ahead of time to sign up and whatnot like blockchain does. We've built all these tools now, so it's really easy. It's always been free and easy to get a Telos account, but it's just much easier now. Keys are much are done in a much easier way. Sign in from mobile and online web. It's really easy. It's much more the user experience that people expect with a mature sort of social media product than it is with a typical blockchain.
Yeah, that's I thought there was, my thing with blockchains, we've got the whole thing about various consensus algorithms, and I still think that DPoS at this point is probably the best one for smart contracts.
Yeah.
But the next challenge to me was always in my book was governance, and how do you facilitate that in a efficient way, and I really think Telos is probably the closest that I've seen. Like you said, you talked about Tezos. They're doing some great things over there when it comes to governance and stuff. They're using DPoS as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think they are.
Yeah, I like Tezos quite a bit. I think I think that they do things differently. And I think that both these experiments are good. Their smart contract platform is to my understanding not as robust as the EOSio
right.
one.
Right.
In terms of smart contracts, EOS really shines. It's really strong. I think Tezos, because they built like the Michelson platform and their own Lido code, as opposed to using more tried and true C++ and WebAssembly WASM that EOSio did. I think that there's a steeper adoption curve there than for us, for developers. And I really like that element of EOSio.
Yeah, so, me too. I think it's a no-brainer if you want to. And I've said this so many times, Doug. Like, if the thing with this whole new blockchain technology, this industry, is you have to get the developers there first before you can get the end user. You have to have great apps or dApps before an end user will ever come to the platform. And so why
they have to not know, they have to not think it's blockchain.
Exactly.
Really, before, and then you have to go, that's like we need to get them using blockchain before they know they're using blockchain, right? Or else it's just not going to be successful. So I totally agree with you. Everybody on the Telos team really agrees about that. And that's why we're building all kinds of adoption tools. Like, now that we've just started the Telos birthday bash, it's going to run from now the 12th through the 18th. It's sometimes I think of it as Telos Hanukkah. But that's the period between our launch and our activation period. And we're just going to be rolling out a lot of things. And you're going to see, one of the things that people are going to see right now when they go to like telos.net, they're going to see these tools we made where you can sign on, you can get a free account, you can use just a phone number, right? You can, it'll make sure that it's unique and that it's not just a Google Voice number, and we're not dumb. And then you can set it up. You can build like your social media profile with your avatar and your likes and dislikes and hopes and dreams, and talk with other people, like and even like sentiment tokens, which we have to talk about, because that's like a great innovation.
Yeah,
this
is what we need, man, in the community. This is exactly what we need, and it's just great to see Telos ahead of the curve and really innovating and moving in that direction.
Thanks, man. It's exciting to do it. It's like I did not set this is not this is not my life plan a few years ago to be in kind of a position where I said, hey, I got this idea, and people said, yeah, we'll do it as long as you keep doing it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I think
Mm-hmm.
it's an important idea, so I guess I'll keep at it. So when you're in, but the nice thing is, when you have ideas and you go, God, I've been at this crypto thing for a while now, and I really think that it's not going to go anywhere unless we do A, B, and C. And then we go, okay, great, let's do A, B, and C. And those are like, make it invisible for people to get on board, make it easy, make it an experience that's, frankly, like social media, almost like everyone's talking about voice, which is fantastic. We know it's coming now. It's going to be exciting. It's going to run on its own chain and then maybe come onto some other chain. But that's exciting. But I actually
Yeah.
think that there's about 90% of voice that we can do and are already doing on Telos that doesn't actually
Mm-hmm.
require it to be a social media platform with a separate level, a separate coin. We're putting on avatars, we're putting on statuses, we're putting on, file storage, we're putting on all these things. And the wallets of Telos are, I mean, we're thinking of different names for them. Actually, I think we're going to start calling them personas, because they're
Nice.
not like a wallet, and it's
And,
way
and
more like,
again, that you're going, and this is great because you're again breaking down the barrier between the end user who doesn't know anything about blockchain. What is a wallet? Why am I calling this a wallet?
well,
I
yeah, we
love
could be on
that.
that for a while because it's the dumbest name ever. But
Yeah, so I mean, that's great, man. I'm really excited about Telos. And, again, since we talked last, a lot of things have changed, just industry wide. We've got EOS and their, or Block One, I should say, in their settlement with the SEC. How does that make you feel? Yeah, how does that?
love it.
Yeah, I'm sure
I love it.
that
I'll tell you, I had like, I 99.9% absolutely love it, because it makes so much clarity
mm-hmm.
for in this space. So I love that. There's a small part of me that thought, God, this, like the SEC is going to keep like coming down on crypto until somebody who has the resources and a really strong case says, no, we'll fight you, right? And I mean, we see like Kick and Kin doing that, but I actually
Yeah,
think that Block One had a far stronger case and they
they
could have
did.
stood up. And and there's a small part of me that wishes they would, because it would be great for the whole crypto community. But frankly, for Block One and for everybody in the EOSio community, it offers way more clarity. And so
Yeah.
I understand why, they had to say, well, somebody else can fight that fight. We're moving forward. But I love it. We were always in really great shape, Telos, I feel, because we never raised any ICO from anyone. We didn't.
Right.
It's not like we saved 60% of the
Mm-hmm.
coins for ourselves. We saved 5% for the founders, and no one has more than like maybe 2%, if that. So we're on really solid footing. The because the SEC said that they're made an agreement with Block One, in my understanding, not an attorney, but because they made this agreement that they weren't going to pursue them any further, the fact that Telos also used the Block One
Base
EOSIO
code.
snapshot,
Yeah.
almost, for 99.9% of our distribution, means that I think that's just one extra layer of surety that's also extended to us. So I think we're in really, really good shape. I was never that worried about it, but I think that it opens things up. I would love to see that translate into Block One now injecting more of those sort of promised funds into
Yes.
the
Same
EOSIO
here.
ecosystem. I haven't seen that yet. It's been a few months, but
And
fingers
my
crossed.
my thought was, Doug, that the reason why funds weren't being kind of dispersed and used was because they were going through that with the SEC. That
That
was
seemed to make sense to me, but I
once
haven't.
once retrospectively looking at it, once the whole news came out and that they settled, I'm like, oh, okay. Now some things do make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, they settle for pocket change, like
Yeah,
20.
it was.
I mean, that shows
They
you
spent more
how.
money on voice.com. than
Oh
the
yeah,
same.
right. For like yeah, because it was like 28 and 30 million, I think, like that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but great. I mean, great URL. I guess somebody like has been sitting on that thing for like 25 years
Yeah, I was thinking
and got
about it
their
like,
payday.
man,
You
wish
know?
I had that one.
Yeah, my
But
guess is that guy or girl he had like 500, was paying for 500 for the last 25 years, and finally,
paid off.
got his
Yeah.
payday.
Yeah. So another thing, which I was very excited for you guys, was to finally see that EOS or Block One finally kind of recognized you guys.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that whole thing, man. I think that was awesome.
It was fantastic, right? So, you feel a little bit like the redheaded stepchild if you are working on this platform that you really like and admire and are building for, and had always heard was supposed to be, untold number of chains, right? That was the expectation. But for a while, it didn't seem like we were really kind of, like anyone was aware of us. And I think there's still a little bit of misinformation there about how things went together, and which I'm hoping that we can like get even more engagement with Block One, and allay some of their fears, because I think we did everything as right as it could be done. And I think any concerns they may have are just based on misinformation, which is easily to fix. But it was great to have a chance to sit down with them, have them do this full on write up about us, and kind of, I mean, show things we're doing. Like you're showing pictures of us at expos, and there's one of us, like my team there. Hey, Peter's in that picture. This is like a surreal moment. And and where we're mostly good block guys, and Marlon from Telos Miami went there, and we're in the hackathon and did great. Lots of things where we've been kind of there, but still, until this article came out, it felt like we were kind of at the fringes of acceptance. Now it's like, hey, we're another blockchain. We're doing good things. It's nice that Block One is highlighting the work we're doing. It's very rewarding. So I'm really glad, and I hope that that's the opening of even more deeper, working together with them.
Yeah. So right now, EOSio is going through some difficulties, and that's to be expected with software, right? You're gonna have hiccups. You're gonna have unintended consequences from various actions
And there's
on.
value there, so people are going to try. I mean, it's
Yes,
natural in this system that people are going to try and go get that money, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about kind of what you developed even before Dan put his plan out, well, which was to fix. And if people don't understand what's going on with Rex, there's a lot of what's it called, Eidos,
Yeah, IDOS. Yeah,
Eidos.
I get a little dyslexic, and I see it as die EOS. So
Oh yeah, yeah. It seems like that's what he's trying to do is kill EOS, but
maybe, maybe, or
but
maybe he's just putting out. Maybe he's just really making us aware of
no,
the
this is good.
problem, so we
Stress
can.
test. You know how the banks did when back in 2009,
I
doing
know a
these
lot of stuff
stress
that
tests.
banks do that I'm not thrilled about. So
Yeah, the stress test. Maybe he's just doing a stress test on EOSIO. But tell us
what?
about your plan, the
Yeah.
trim plan, and how you came up with it, and a little bit more detail about that because I think it's unique.
Absolutely, thanks. So this started out well before the current IDOS concern, about maybe 10 weeks ago, when, as people probably recall, there was a similar attack. It was not an ongoing attack. It didn't incentivize other people to do the attack. It was a attack by one or two accounts that bought up a massive amount of the resources through Rex. They're very cheap, and then exploited those by jamming everything up, so that they could basically predict which random numbers would be generated by the system in this gambling app that's using a sort of a non-standard way to do random number generation, and basically steal from that that app. Now it's actually not stealing because its code is law on EOS is the law. So it's just taking money. so
Right.
they but that's what they were doing, right? So I looked at that and I said, hey, we are all we are all susceptible to this. It hasn't happened on Telos because there's really no gambling apps on Telos, and the value is not there yet, and things like that. But it could be a problem, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody could do it not to steal, but just to knock out Telos. I mean, everybody's
Mm-hmm.
got every chain has their detractors, right? And so I said I put up this article about 10 weeks ago that we needed to do something. And I said the first step, even though it was not going to be a magic bullet, would be to test out limiting how much Rex any single account could buy. Right now, you could say, well, wait, everyone has the right to buy whatever they want. But really, I think that as a block producer and people who are sort of managing entrusted to manage the blockchain, I think it's worth experimenting with whether we could just make sure that no one can buy 100% of Rex. We can put a limit on that. So that's something that started in advance of the whole IDOS situation. Flash forward, the IDOS situation is ongoing. It's happening both on EOS and then on Telos with something called Rich Coin, that which is also being mined on Boss. It's just basically a resource attack on the chain. We're very fortunate that we already had seen what had happened with EOS. We saw that it wasn't really a lot of value there, and frankly, I think we're largely spared with the fact that we have people, instead of like selling Rex, for this meaningless shitcoin, they can put their Telos into Rex and get 20% APR. So I think we're largely insulated by that. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we're number 2 on Blocktivity right now is due to the people who are mining it, right? Even though there's probably no long-term value, right? Mostly and what we've seen is actually it's the same people. The same accounts are just mining it themselves and sending it to themselves. So we decided, the block producer and the block producer, several of the people on the Telos core dev team, and myself, put together this plan called the TRIM plan, the Telos Resource Improved Management Plan. And it's a little different than the TED plan because we don't have to vote on it. It's really more talking about what we could do as developers, what our strategies could be. It's a 7-point plan. It's not an elegant solution like our solution for RAM was a very elegant solution that basically solved that. And it's a number of sort of mitigating factors. It's basically we're going to put more goalies in front of the net, basically. But these things, that's a totally reasonable way to address problems that don't have a clear solution. And I think it'll work. Actually, it'll do a lot of good. And what it basically does, without running through everything, you can go look at. We can link to the TRIM plan, but basically it has some frontline stuff like the one we already had in place, which is now being tested on testnet and is about to be deployed, which is let's configure how much RAM any one account can buy,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's really common sense. I mean, honestly, all our stuff is common sense. I'm not that smart. I just do common sense stuff. So that's one.
Not many
Another,
people have common sense though. That's the problem.
yeah, common sense is not that common, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but this is not world changing stuff. This is like, hey, how could we, this is our problem. How can we address that? And that's one way. Another way we're doing that is we are looking at the floor price for Rex. Right now on Telos, one Telos buys 3,000 Telos worth of Rex for 30 days. That's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty big. That's way out of line, right?
Mm-hmm.
We think that needs to be much more. We think the economics are way out of whack. Dan has also come out and admitted that the default values weren't really the right ones, and so shame on us for just taking something out of the box without doing more testing. But that testing process is happening now on Telos. We have code. We're testing on our StageNet and testnet. And again, I think by the end of this birthday week, we'll be able to announce that it's been changed.
Nice.
And basically, we're just going to we're going to set a higher floor using something called SetRex. It's explained both in the TRIM plan and also in a further information on that step that's been done by EOS South Africa. Rory Mapstone to just reset the REX so that we have a higher floor price. So instead of 3,000 to 1, it's going to be 600 to 1. And that's probably not all the way there, but our strategy is not to like try to pick some perfect number and on the first go out, because that's not really how things work. The real way, if you want to fix a problem, is you say, okay, here's the action we think will work. Here's the direction we think we can go to, and we don't want to overshoot it. Let's make it configurable, which is what we're doing. So we'll do something that we think is pretty, maybe halfway there, and then we'll do smaller steps, every couple of weeks as we see how that works, and just empirically judge this. We had some debates about whether to do a big mathematical modeling, but the fact is there's absolutely nothing to measure this against, in true historical data. So that's just kind of a way to convince yourself that your guess is right. And stuff like this, no one's ever done this. So until we do it through trial and hopefully not much error, with empirical measurement and iterative adjustments, I think that there's no better way to approach that, and that's what we're going to do.
Nice.
There's a couple other things we're doing. I'd encourage people just to read it. There's an absolute backstop, which is we envision if somebody goes absolutely crazy, we talk about what people could do that remains decentralized and isn't censorship, but still protects the network. But mainly we're trying to think about dialing down the amount of leeway so that people are used to paying for the resources, giving brand new accounts easy ways to do it, like a fund. So since we're funding a lot of money in directs, one of the things we realized is we could actually, some of those could just be given directs for those high rewards, but some of those could be used to buy a pool of staking rewards that could be used so that any account could have 5, 7, whatever free transactions per day or week, right? And then beyond that, they have to pay for them. And I think that's that's that kind of good happy medium between being really open to casual, everyday general computer users, right? And also maintaining the free transactions and all the great things about the EOSio current model, right? That is not really broken, right? It's just not optimally set right now, and so we're gonna take some time to dial it in. And
Right.
I actually don't support. So that all came out before Dan's new process,
Right.
and
And then Dan came out with his, and looks like it may be, he's kind of, they're thinking about, they're trying to rewrite the whole thing, right? And I'm
yeah,
not.
it's kind of like, well, this didn't work, let's throw it away and try something new. And I don't think that's the way that most people on high value systems work. I think the approach is, unless we know that something is absolutely unfixable, which I don't believe is the case, why don't we just try to fix it? Why don't we? And having a brand new thing means that means technically
Brand new bugs.
Yeah, it's brand new bugs. I mean, Rex. Let's remember, Rex was the fix for other problems, right?
Right.
So I think because I'm not as brilliant as Dan Larimer, I think we have a pretty good system. Let's try to optimize it before we throw it out, and let's definitely do something as opposed to start writing some code that's going to be tested, that's going to be deployed, and 6 months later might make it or might not, or might be a new Rex with a new set of problems and then has to be thrown out for some new idea. Let's start getting serious and being like grown-ups and fixing, let's fix our shit, right?
Right.
It's not hopelessly broken. It can be fixed. Or if we find out it is, at least we'll be further down the road and we will know that, and we'll know why, and that may better suggest what the actual
Yeah, I mean, because
fix is.
if you try to fix the issue now, it's a process of you're learning as you're debugging, right?
Yeah.
And so if you get to that wall and it's like, oh, we can't do it, well, now you at least have that path of, okay, we've learned XYZ, this is what we should do, and then if you do start over, you should be able to take some of the lessons learned through debugging what you were initially trying to fix.
Absolutely. And frankly,
Yeah.
everyone's always said that one of the strengths of the EOSIO system is that there can be many different experiments. And so Telos is taking the strategy of let's be proactive, but not not let's not freak out, but let's
Mm-hmm.
take reasonable measured action. We have engaged BPs that meet every week, and a core dev group that meets every week, and we talk about these things. We've been very successful at executing things on the chain. That's why we have all of the 1.8 new activation features, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to EOS, which struggled to get just one, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
able to coordinate in ways that are still completely decentralized and don't
Now,
have
is
to,
that Doug? Let me just interject. Is that
yeah.
because you're a smaller um, community, organization, or network, or is it because of the way you guys took the time out to design the network that
I
you can
think
scale and do that?
I think it's more the latter. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's going to have their own position on that and opinion. What I think is this: I think that the groups that originally ran EOS were in, for the dream and for a lot of things, but also with the expectation there was going to be, $100,000 a month of income, right?
Right.
But the groups that's morphed now into a system where, I mean, I don't remember working with a lot as on the EOS launch group, working with a lot of the people of the groups that are actually running the chain now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so I think there's a different set of priorities there. But the people who launched and are still operating Telos, and by the way, there's a lot of new people who've come in who had nothing to do with the launch that are now top 21 BPs, but they're doing it basically the same culture, the same way. We didn't. I mean, we knew that we were going to launch a token that had no value unless we
Mm-hmm.
created it. We
Mm-hmm.
knew, we knew that we were going to do a lot of hard work and nothing guaranteed, but we all believed in the vision. And frankly, I mean, Telos looks a lot like the EOS white paper vision, like probably
Right.
more than anything else out there. So we all believed in that. We thought this can happen if we build it, and we weren't guaranteed this money. And so I think it's a different set of people, and it built this different culture, which is we really are responsive. We know this is only going to have value if we make the value, and so let's get to work. And so I think that persists, and therefore you have a lot of really engaged BPs who are actively trying to make sure that this work is being done, and this work is working for the users and the developers.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this storage, decentralized storage aspect. I know that Dan Limmer did a did a presentation about EOS storage at some point, I think last year, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be great. Like once we get to that point, man, I think that's like blockchain, the
Yeah,
next evolution of it all, because
yeah,
if
because
we
we've
can
been
start
working on the
storing,
computer with no hard drive up until then, right?
yeah, yeah.
How cool is
So
that? Not at all.
that's going to be game changing. So tell us a little bit about D Store
Yeah,
and how far you guys are along with that, and
we're
what
really far. We're
okay,
really far. So
okay.
so early on, we knew that we, like you, totally believed that decentralized storage was a foundational component for the new internet, right?
Mhm. Exactly.
For which blockchain is also a foundational component, right?
Mhm.
So we thought it was very important. It's also necessary to all these things like the Telos Works proposals that we're putting out and all these things, because you had to be able to put something up and make sure that it wasn't going to be changed later, and said this is what we're proposing, so that when something's voted on, then you can compare it against that and see if it was actually delivered, right? So we needed that for a variety of governance features. So we built something that there was a form of IPFS that was blockchain controlled and permission. We were calling it Telos IPFS. We've been using that since, for over a year now, since before launch. The problem is there's a reason that there are people all over the world have been working for 3 or 4 or 5 years to get IPFS working into a decentralized storage system, and yet we, even with all these projects, even with storage and Saya and all these, and Filecoin and everything, that no one has cracked that nut, and that is because it's a very tough nut to crack.
Mhm.
We had sort of given up. We had like 9 months ago, the Telos core devs put out something that said, guys, we just think Filecoin's going to get it. They're so far ahead. We're just going to keep this going and until we can have and we'll work with them. We were working with their developer group. to have a bridge, because we thought that was the way to go, right? That article is out there, but we kept working on it, and we discovered that if we looked at it in a different way, that that we could actually make this work. And so flash forward to now, here at Good Block, we have built a new revolutionary decentralized storage system. We're calling it dStore. This week, we're going to put out a 15-minute explainer video about how it works and what our strategies are and and why it's so important. And so people will be able to see it. We are saying that January is going to be open up the first phase of our beta. We're currently in alpha right now, and it works. It solves a lot of the problems. So it has the advantages of centralized storage in terms of your files don't just disappear every once in a while like that.
Right.
We solve what's called the forward replication problem and data persistence problem. But it's very cheap, like to operate, much cheaper than sort of Amazon Web Services. But we decided for mass adoption, instead of building that on its own new blockchain, right? It's going to be paid exclusively from Telos accounts, and during the beta period, available only to dApps that are deploying on Telos. Ultimately, with decentralized storage, you can't really close that down. But for foreseeable future, for probably at least a year, that'll only Telos apps will be able to use it. And but what we see is there'll probably be a decentralized Dropbox that builds on dStore, right? And so that decentralized Dropbox or whatever, they're just gonna go out to general users, right? There's probably going to be a decentralized SoundCloud or something like that that goes on dStore, and so they'll just have, or maybe it's Emanate, or maybe it's somebody else, right? Will be able to use the decentralized storage for their music files instead of actually storing them on AWS, right? Right now, everybody gets a pass with that, because even though it's off their promise and off mission, because there's just no viable solution currently. IPFS is slow access compared to centralized traditional cloud storage and dStore. It doesn't do, we're showing in our demo, we live demoed on other people's on people's own devices a few weeks ago, and showed streaming video from without lagging directly from dStore. The website, we've even done demos where the demo website itself is served from dStore.
Nice.
So it's very far along. It's really cool. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be for I think probably at least the next year, going to be a unique point of service that Telos alone offers. So it's going to be a reason for dApps to come to Telos, and it's also going to be an opportunity for dApps that are on Telos to do a lot more and truly fulfill that mission of being truly decentralized, right? Including in their storage, which is extremely important.
So my question is, you guys again you're my favorite side sister chain on the EOSio platform. My question is, man, like, how do you like? What happens if you're starting to build this relationship with Block One, right? And what if they start to want to kind of integrate a lot of the work that you guys have done? How do you feel about that? And
it would come down to the specifics of any kind of deal. So dStore is something that we at Good Block ourselves have spent a year working on, are in the process of patenting, and it's going to be on Telos, but it's not like it's with apologies, it's not fully open source for a lot of really good reasons.
Gotcha. That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
cool.
not, everything we do on Telos, and that's one of the reasons that we haven't like sought, funds from Telos Works or anything like that as a work proposal. We never knew, we put a lot of resources and time and creativity and ingenuity into this, and didn't know for sure that it was going to work. Now we do. But for a
Right.
long time, we didn't. And so we never asked for funds because we didn't want to ask for funds on something that ultimately didn't work. We had partners along the way early on, but when we realized that that the IPFS route was not going to work unless we rewrote major portions of IPFS and did some other mojo, we those partners sort of went on to do other things, and we ended up not using any of that work. So everything we've done is our own work.
Nice.
We think that this is a super important technology.
Yeah, it
We
is.
don't want to get it screwed up, and we do really, to maximize it, we do probably have to bring in a higher level of investment than we have right now at our own disposal. So I think that the vision is build this out, make it work, make it truly decentralized, but not in the same way as like a Filecoin or something like that, where it's
Right.
running an additional blockchain. I don't think that's necessary. I think there's too
Yeah.
many things. I think we're building our pricing, and you'll see this in this 15-minute explainer. We're building our pricing to almost exactly replicate the pricing of Amazon S3 or something like that, because
Mm.
that's what real users are, because that's what real enterprises and things like that are going to be able to be familiar with. Another
Right.
important thing is it doesn't require any new infrastructure for the dApps using it. These are very, very important sort of fine points that that would be like real big sticking points, like halfway along, down the process. And you go, oh, but I gotta, buy, $100,000 worth of new new routers to use this. Forget it. Like we look at things when we built Telos. We looked at it from the developer's perspective, and we build dStore. We also build it from a developer's perspective. So there's a lot of really good features here that are going to make it very adoptable. If Block One wants to come in, if anyone wants to come in, that's great. Obviously, early on, while we're still in beta, we'll be working with people on sort of special arrangements. So
Right.
but we're thrilled to talk to anybody who really believes in the importance of decentralized storage, and wants to expand that. So
Oh, that's
it can be
awesome,
anyone, but
man.
we're also not gonna. It's not something we're gonna clamp down and and sell to Amazon
Right. Right.
or worse, like Tencent. Because one of the things about it is,
Oh man.
yeah.
Yeah, 10 cent.
So I even told you this really cool shit. So check this out. So because of the way, like dStore actually has a lot of different technologies, and one of the technologies, like at the front end, is how it routes everything. It's different than anyone else has used. That's a big part of what we're patenting. Um, the fact that we are doing it in this way, and it's so lightweight and so resilient and self-healing, it's a mesh and all these really cool things, means that number one, it should essentially have built-in DDoS protection from
Mm.
anything, right? And number two, it should be highly resilient to restrictive governments blocking access, right?
Nice.
Now that's something you can only test in the wild, right?
Yeah.
So we don't. I mean, like, these repressive governments are very, very smart. They have a
Yeah.
lot. They have a lot of coders. So I'm not promising anything there, but the architecture of it means that it should be like they can't block it in the same way that they block, other sites.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of exciting
That's
because,
huge. That's big.
yeah. So
That's
that's
big.
why we wouldn't maybe do a deal with Tencent, because they're the ones who actually build the Chinese Great Firewall. We might not want to
Mm-hmm.
do a technology sharing deal with those guys. We might have to be a little bit careful. But Block One loves this infrastructure, and I'd certainly
Man,
talk
that
to
would
them.
put, I mean, I'm just kind of, just hypothetically speaking here, that would really put Block One in, if they would do a deal with you guys at some point down the line, that would really put them in the game and to kind of compete against AWS a little bit. I
Yeah,
think
well, I
that's,
mean, that's the thing. So like this is literally something, a good block you see, this is our main office, so we only have so many desks, so many people. We come up with something, we worked really hard, we came up with something really big. I actually personally think, and it's at the risk of being sort of self-aggrandizing, I think that working decentralized storage at the speed of traditional cloud storage is as big a foundational piece of
It's
the
blockchain.
new instrument as a third generation blockchain. I think that
Yeah.
these are technology and these are technologies that go hand in hand. So I'm really excited about it. I wish it's been hard not to say more, and it is still hard because obviously, while we've got patent filings in, we have to wait to see what comes back, what actual protections we have.
Gotcha. No,
You know,
that's cool. That's cool, man. So, any last announcements? I know this is the birth week, the first year anniversary of Telos. What
yeah.
else? What else is going on over
So,
there?
yeah, so people should check in. There's a lot of stuff happening today. Today is the first day, the activation, the 1 year anniversary of the activation day. And from today until the 18th, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. I mean, people should look at the new look. You might already be seeing some of the new look of Telos. It's designed to be, sort of a more sophisticated brand than the acorn is never going away. Don't worry. But there's we hired a great branding firm, and those are things you can't do when you're just completely until you've bootstrapped a bit. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about we are announcing several new apps that are deploying on Telos right now. That makes me smile, because really it's all about bringing apps and users and to the chain. We're employing our sentiment tokens are coming out. That's the blockchain like and trust and distrust and gamer badge and things like that. That it's a technology that we that also came out of Good Block, but we're working with some other block producers. Telos Voyager right now is helping us actually build those out, and that's going to be basically like a social media type or type trust or something like that feature that's on blockchain for the first time and can have functional meaning for things in the chain. For example, one of the things we're doing with that is we're working with wallets to say, okay, if enough people have put distrust onto an account, the wallet should warn them and say, hey, you're trying to send a lot of Telos to an account that has more distrust, sentiment tokens on it from other people than your threshold that you've configured in this wallet. Do you really want to do that? And then they can go, hell yeah, whatever.
That's
And
major. I like that.
or they can go,
Yeah.
oh wait, let me double check that, because until now, you send to the slightly wrong account, that's gone. There's no warning, right? So I think that's really functional. But also, these sentiment tokens are super cool because you can use them for gamer tags, right? We're having Telos chesses now. There's a big competition, sort of like the build a chess game, and those got built, but they didn't get deployed anywhere. Well, Telos chess is now out, and we're going to be people are going to be looking at that this week, and we're hoping that if either it's going to have it right at the very beginning or soon after, sentiment token based win-loss record that people can never change. People can't change themselves. Only the game can update that, like a gamer tag from on Xbox or something. That didn't exist yet, and now it will as part of sentiment tokens. I think these things are really cool. People should definitely go to telos.net, our new website that's launching now, and check out all these great things. Frankly, I'm pretty jazzed that we got telos.net. I feel like a big boy now.
Yeah, that's big. That's almost as big as getting voice.com.
Yeah. We didn't spend 30 million. We didn't have 30 million bucks to spend on it. We didn't.
Right. Hey, Doug, but I will have to say I'm a little disappointed you guys changed the branding. I thought you would stick with this branding right here. I thought this was a great.
Oh well, look. That's never going away. That is the new branding. How'd you get the new branding? Love it.
Man, that was funny. That was a good picture you sent, man. Well, Doug, appreciate you coming on today. Another kicking a session with Douglas Horn, founder of Telos. I know he doesn't like being called the founder, but he is, people. He is. Great, brilliant guy.
I'm one of many. One of many.
One of many. Always a pleasure having him on, and we'll definitely like to see him on again soon, guys. So make sure you like, share, and definitely check out Telos on all their great projects and endeavors they're doing. I'm telling you, this is one of the sister chains that I am most excited about. So check it out, people. It's your boy Crypto Blood. We're out of here. Holla!